Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin' Track. I'm Ryan Stillman, and with me, as always, is my incredible co-host, Aaron Halterman of RacingDudes.com. Aaron, welcome back. We've got an action-packed show. Happy to see you, man.
Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about, a lot to break down from last week, a lot coming up this week. It's always busy during the Derby season. We got some crazy results, some things we got to talk about. So, and on MyRacehorse source that we kind of hyped up, we'll get to talk about him a little bit as well and how he did. So it's a very fun show today.
Oh, you guys have no idea. I'm so pumped. This weekend of racing is insane. Before we get to all that, I have an announcement to make. I've been pitching this exciting thing that we're going to be doing at Big Play, and Probable Luck was supposed to be running on Saturday. We were going to do a live show. He's not entered. Lucas, he's the trainer. You guys know he's doing whatever's best for the horse. So that's being put to the side. So if and when that changes, we'll let you know. But really excited for that. In the meantime, I'd like to get to Aaron's opinions in that game we like to play called Stock Up, Stock Down. Aaron, last week I pitched on the show. There could be a Triple Crown type of performance. We kind of did see it, just not from the horse that I think everyone expected from. I asked you for your stock up. You said nobody. Let's start with this because I was surprised. Magniutde, no stock up for you. Let's break it down for people that don't follow past the race day itself. Why no stock up on Magniutde?
So if you watch Magniutde, it really was just an unbelievable performance, a dominant effort, a runaway victory. He got a buyer speed figure of 108, and that is higher than anybody in this crop has gotten by far. All good things, and you're sitting there thinking, well, why isn't he stock up? That seems like the easiest answer ever. 2 days later, it's announced he came out of the race with an ankle chip. Basically, he's going to have surgery on his ankle, and he's going to miss the entire Triple Crown, not just the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont. It's all off the table for him. So it's hard to say stock up when we're talking about Derby horses when that happens with Magniutde. So, past him, and we'll talk about when we get the stock down. But Magniutde was a huge stock up. I was getting ready to gush over this horse for literally this whole segment, and then that news came out on Tuesday. So very, very disheartening. An incredible performance. A horse that, remember him for the summer when he comes back, maybe. But as of right now, he was there one day, gone the next. Magniutde, incredible race, but he's now injured.
Yeah, a game of highs and lows. Aaron, what was crazy about this horse, there was nothing to predict he could possibly do this. The jockey at the meet who'd been riding him was the leading jockey. He jumped off the horse to ride another horse, Jonathan's Way. This horse was dropped from future pool number 3 to future pool 4 as a 40-horse picks you can bet on for the futures for the Derby. There was nothing to predict it. The trainer, the jockey, no one could see it coming. He ran good enough. Like, guys, go back, watch that race. That's what you want to see from a Triple Crown winner. That kind of performance. And there was nothing to indicate it. It was like when Mind That Bird won the Derby personally, where you were like, that was so otherworldly, his Derby win. You couldn't have seen it coming. So let's talk about a horse maybe that if people were expecting to see that performance from out of the race, who didn't perform at all. Because you gave a stock down to everybody, Aaron, but the biggest stock down for me personally, as far as where his level has dropped from, East Avenue. I want to hear your take, because how far has your stock dropped on East Avenue?
It couldn't be dropped any further. If everybody's a stock down, he's the worst of the stock downs. Look, what a difference a week makes. We alluded to it last week. We said he's either going to do what we think he's going to do, and now he's going to be a big-time horse, and we're going to talk about him, or he could be just totally off the radar if he gets beat. And not only did he get beat, Ryan, he just got smoked. And the most disheartening thing of all, he was sitting in second right behind Magniutde. And during that race, I'm thinking, okay, you're in a really good spot. They start for turn for home, and Magnitude's starting to kind of gallop away from him a little bit. But I thought, well, you know what? Maybe Magnitude's just running a massive race, but East Avenue's still in a great spot. He should be able to run on. And he went absolutely backwards in the stretch. He was nowhere to be found. Well beaten off the board. And he's off my Kentucky Derby board. And I think I kind of read an article with Brendan Walsh, his trainer, a little bit, thinking the same kind of thing as me. You kind of mentioned it on the show last week as well. They think mentally this horse might just be a little bit screwed up after what happened to him at the Breeders' Cup, falling out of the gate basically and going down to his knees. Maybe that's the thing, but because physically they don't see anything wrong with him. This was not him. I mean, this is not who he is, but as of right now, you got to take him off because, that was just a horrific effort.
No, talent-wise, Aaron, this horse shouldn't be where he finished on the track. Like, let's say he's just not to the level of excitement. It's hard to believe how bad we saw this horse perform. But we told you guys last week, this is one of those things in racing where one day you're the big star of the track, and the next day we don't want anything to do with you. I wish him the best. He's going to have to prove it to me next time. I can't see myself rushing to bet on him. I wish him the best. He was a horse I really loved. Let's talk about some horses you did love, though. The Sunland Derby, Aaron, you gave a major stock up to Caldera. Talk about why.
Yeah, Caldera, the MyRacehorse owned horse, he was fantastic in this race. He went four wide on both the turns. And usually when that happens, you've got a pretty tired horse in the lane. But he made a huge move at the top of the stretch. He actually got past Getaway Car, who actually won the race. But then, Getaway Car got a much easier trip, a much shorter trip around the racetrack. And then all of a sudden, Caldera just got a little bit tired, I feel like, and he just couldn't quite get past him and hold him off. So it's still at the wire. They were bobbing heads. And I mean, it was kind of an unlucky bob for Caldera, but I'm super impressed with him.
Is he a Derby horse for you, Aaron? Can you see him making a Triple Crown race?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If he doesn't make the Derby, I think he's a Preakness or a Belmont or even both.
I love that. Now, another horse you gave a stock up to was the winner, Getaway Car. Tell me why. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, Getaway Car. I mean, it's pretty easy. He won the race. He ran very well. I thought it was an improved race for some of his other races going 2 turns. He did get the easier of the 2 trips. Like I said, a little bit easier trip for Getaway Car than for Caldera. And I think that's ultimately why he won, but still give him credit. I give a ton of credit to Getaway Car as a nice win for him.
Absolutely. And a stock down for you was Touchy. Why?
Yeah, just real quick on Touchy, just nowhere to be found. The top 2 horses galloped way ahead of everybody else by multiple lengths. So Touchy, he was a horse I was iffy on anyway. And then after this, it's like, yeah, nothing to do with Touchy for the Derby.
Absolutely, Aaron. Well, guys, come back with us. We're going to do some swiping with my sister. This is an incredible week of racing. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm pumped. Get ready. See you on the other side. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin' Track. It's everybody's favorite part of the show when we swipe left or right in a game we like to call
Swiping with My Sister.
Okay, guys, you know how this works, Aaron. I showed my sister, a champion equestrian rider, 4 horses who are potentially Derby horses, and she had to swipe left or right on them based on looks for the Derby. We got 4 to choose from today, Aaron, and they're all in the Rebel Stakes, which is a Derby prep. Let's start off with one that's a big name in the Derby, Coal Battle, right? This is a horse who's sort of the fairy tale horse of the Derby Trail, right, Aaron? What do you think my sister did with Coal Battle?
Yeah, good way to start off here. I think she's going to swipe left on this one, just kind of based on his pedigree, based on what he costs, stuff like that. He's not an overly flashy horse, in my opinion, but she surprised me in the past. She obviously knows more than me, but I'm going to go swipe left on Coal Battle.
Let's see.
I would probably swipe left in the sense of him winning the Derby. I think that he's nice. I think, is it possible that he could win the Kentucky Derby? Sure, it's possible. I think that that's a race that any of them could win, but I don't think he could win the Triple Crown. I think he's got too much muscle on the front end, not enough on the back end, and I think he would pewter out. And I think he'd be a solid 4th or 5th throughout this whole thing.
Interesting. And Aaron, we're going to get to Coal Battle a little bit more throughout the show. There's a lot here, but great job there. Okay, so let's talk about this, Aaron, because I feel like what you were talking about is this is a horse with those intangibles, right? Like sometimes you can't judge a horse's heart. Do you want to discuss that maybe? Is that where you were coming from here?
Yeah, and again, not that I know that much about the how confirmation of a horse like your sister does, but it tends to what happen is when horses aren't highly regarded as yearlings or 2-year-olds, it's because they might have they're not perfectly put together, or they don't have that flashy pedigree or flashy look, and so that's why I said swipe left on this one. But let's flip it over to this. Sometimes these horses, they don't know who they're by or who their mom or dad is, right? They just like to run. And that's what this one is doing. And so you can outrun that pedigree and you can outrun those problems. If you've got a big heart, you know what you're doing and you want to win. So just because she swiped left doesn't mean he has no chance. It just kind of means, yeah, he's not the most flashy horse.
Absolutely. Now let's go to the polar opposite of this, Aaron, with a horse who is bred to the teeth. I don't even know how you would say this, Hypnus. Did my sister swipe left or right on Kenny McPeak trained Hypnus?
Well, I think she swiped right, and I think what something you said is the key, Ryan. He is bred like regally. He is one that would just flash at you when you see him in the flesh. So I say right on Hypnus.
Let's see.
Right. I like this one. The minute you pulled this one up, I was like, wow, what a beautifully built animal. Looks like it's built for distance. Looks like it's a winner. I like this one. I would not be surprised if this one won it all.
Wow.
There you go.
That's big endorsement. And you again, right into my sister's head, which is a scary thought. But Aaron, talk to me about Hypnus for a second. Just looking at him, what are your thoughts on him too? Do you like what you see?
First of all, I think it's a beautiful thought, number one. But number two, yeah, look, I think, I loved I love watching her reactions because sometimes it's like, yeah, I think I'll do right. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I'm swiping right on this horse. And that was one of those ones. And you set it up really perfectly. He's bred to do great things. He looks like a great horse. That picture is an amazing picture of him. That's kind of how you want one to look. So I'm not surprised by either one of these so far. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those ones. He's only had one start. We'll talk about him a little later, but he ran like a really good horse and he looks like a really good horse.
Well, let's talk about a horse that's so polarizing to me. Maybe he's not to everyone, but to me he is. Let's talk about Innovator. Dwayne Lucas trained Innovator. Left or right for my sister on Innovator?
Boy, what a tough one here on Innovator. This could go either way. He's very well bred. I'm going to say right on Innovator.
Okay, let's take a look.
Okay. This one does nothing for me. I don't think he's going to make the board. I don't think he's going to win a race. I would say swipe left. And then this is Louis.
A new star is born, Ryan. We have the dog. Was it Louis? Is that what you said?
That's my family's dog. Shout out to Louis. Good luck charm over there. Okay, so Louis gets the swipe right. This horse gets the swipe left. And Aaron, I think you were kind of judging based on looks, but what's good is I'm kind of with my sister. I would swipe left, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you could tell, the first two were kind of no-brainers, and this one was a little bit tougher. He's bred very well, and so I thought that might, help his chances. That's not the greatest picture of Innovator. I will say that. Did you show her any other ones? Because I don't know about that. Okay.
I did show her more. I did, but
Okay.
but again, he hasn't won tons of races, so I'm going off of post-parade pictures in this, and that does go to your point. But
Hey, and that's more than fair, right? He's had one win and 8 starts. You can't find great pictures of him because he's not in first at the finish line most of the time.
exactly. And he's a weird horse where he's like,
Yeah.
we'll get into him more, guys, but Innovator left for my sister. Okay, let's go to a big horse this weekend. Bob Baffert trained, Madaket Road. Aaron, did my sister swipe left or right for the Derby based on looks?
Oh boy. See, my heart wants her to swipe right because Madaket Road is on my fantasy horse racing team. So I'm going to go right. I'm going to go with my heart. Hopefully she follows her heart and swipes right as well.
Let's take a look.
Okay, I would swipe left because I just don't think this horse has enough scope and stride to win. I think it's possible he could be, make the board in the first leg of the race, but and I think it looks like he's a trier, but just based off of what I'm seeing, it's not winning, so no.
Okay, Aaron, I know, bummer for your fantasy league, but interesting enough, you have this horse. Would you peg him as a Kentucky Derby winner, honestly? Like, it's based on that. That's where she's coming.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know, and no, I wouldn't. We'll talk about him coming up here soon, and we'll kind of get both of our thoughts on him. But no, I don't. I kind of agree with what you're saying. I don't view him as a winner. Yeah, look, he's another one though. He is bred to do good things. He's got Bob Baffert on his side, so that's always good as well. But I get it. I understand. I'm not going to be too disappointed. She didn't know that he was on my team, or it may have been a different answer.
Absolutely. If I told her that, but I can't give her inside info. Now,
no, we want to be honest with our audience.
Exactly. And you did very good there. So that's swiping with my sister. But we're going to give you guys a lot of inside info when we come back. We're going to see our Kentucky Derby top 5 list. And let me tell you, some things might have changed. See you on the other side of this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talkin' Track. I'm Ryan. This is Aaron, and we're here with our new and updated Kentucky Derby top 5 lists. I mean, there's so much to discuss here. Aaron, I'm really curious. We had just mentioned Coal Battle. He's new to your list. East Avenue's dropped off of both of our lists, obviously. Coal Battle, very interesting to see that horse at number 5. What were your thoughts there?
Well, I think he's earned it. He's won 2 Kentucky Derby prep races, and he's done it pretty easily. And he beat a horse in one of the Kentucky Derby prep races who came back to win a different Kentucky Derby prep race. So I thought he's earned the spot. Now, is he the 5th most likely horse to win the Kentucky Derby? I think it gets debatable, right? You may be wanting to throw somebody else in that list, but I look at this like, look, he's running well. He's never lost a race on the dirt, so I just felt like he earned the spot. We're going to talk about him a lot in the next segment as well when we preview the Rebel Stakes. But yeah, I think for right now, he's fine at number 5.
I love that. And Aaron, if you look at our list, we have the same 4 top 4, just sort of in different spots, right? I mean, to me, that's right. And then it's just who do you slide into 5th? And there's a bunch of horses that fit for me. Burnham Square was one I seriously considered. There's a lot that I like. But let me tell you why I went with Captain Cook. I thought that was a sneaky good performance in the Wood Memorial. Now, I don't know if this horse is a Derby winner based on pedigree or what. I can see him kind of hitting the board. I think he's a really exciting, sneaky, under the radar horse because New York doesn't usually produce them. I like that Rick Dutrow is a guy who sort of is, let me rephrase that. There's things to not like about Rick Dutrow, but one thing I do think is he's an incredible horseman. And I think he's just like when we talk about Baffert, and I think part of the reason people get excited for the Baffert horses is, oh, Baffert's on the comeback. He wants to make a statement and win this thing. I think Dutrow's in that exact same scenario. And he's got a talented horse, and I wouldn't be shocked if this horse won a Preakness or finished on a Triple Crown board somewhere, right? So I'm going to give it to him. Does that logically make sense to you, Aaron? Like, what is your opinion on that kind of logic for me?
100% makes sense. You talked about Dutrow and his desire to win these big races. We saw him do it a couple years ago in the Breeders' Cup Classic with a horse named White Abario, where he got his hands on him, and boy, you could tell he really wanted to win that Breeders' Cup race with him, and he did it. So, look, I like Captain Cook as well. He was one that I thought about putting at number 5, so I have no argument against that one.
I love that, we're on the same page with that. And I know you've talked him up quite a bit as well. Just you were impressed. It's one of those performances. I think people just threw it out because it was a New York race. Like there is some biases, but here's something I really want to also update you guys on. I did a flip in my rankings as well, Aaron. Last week I had Journalism 4th. I moved him to 3rd, and I want to explain why, because I found something that I thought was very, very interesting. I went back and looked at the time forms for these 2 different horses. Journalism's got the better numbers. Sovereignty went from 99 to a 108 to a 106. Journalism went from a 98 in his loss to a 103 to a 115. So Journalism's top time form is a 115. Sovereignty's is a 106. I looked at Barnes. His top time form is a 114. Journalism has a higher time form than Barnes. These 2 are going to meet next week. It's so razor thin between those 2. I think that's the matchup I want to see out west for that. So that's part of it. Did you want to comment on that, Aaron? Because I have another thought too. I want to hear what you have to say, though.
Yeah, go on. I know those numbers as well, and I have Journalism ahead of Barnes right now, and that's part of the reason right there. The other part is I think he is going to be good when they go longer, which he's already proven.
Absolutely. And Barnes, I'm not knocking Barnes. He's number 2 on my list. It's questionable the distance for Barnes, just because we haven't seen him do it. And I know that's whatever, but look at East Avenue. No one could predict that. So we're going to see. Journalism's working lights out. Barnes is. Guys, next week, you want to talk about a throwdown for the Derby? The race at Santa Anita is the heavyweight matchup of the trail I've been waiting for. It's going to be insane. There are 3 horses in that race. Any of them could win the Kentucky Derby based on what we see. We're going to get to that next week, but just know there is a showdown here for the number 1 spot, and it's coming next week because Sovereignty is also going to be running. Sovereignty, Aaron, one thing I just wanted to say is I'm concerned about him in the Fountain of Youth. The track that they're running him in, Sovereignty style so far has been come from behind. And I know Burnham Square, he was able to come from behind and win the last prep there. I don't know that this spot is where he's going to necessarily win and thrive, and it's coming up really tough. Now, he totally could. But based on what I'm seeing, I think Barnes or Journalism has a good chance of sorting themselves out unless Rodriguez spoils the party. Sovereignty, I don't know that he needs to win his next race, and he could move down. So I'm going to give the 2 that I think are likely on my list to either win and accelerate. I'm going to give him a step up and let Sovereignty prove me wrong there. Hopefully that made sense to you, though. It's a really hard balancing act between these 4.
Well, yeah, and I mean, until we see journalism and sovereignty, it's all a guess. Just like with East Avenue, he was kind of a guess. We guessed wrong. Citizen Bull, kind of a guess till he seen him as a 3-year-old. That went well. We guessed right, right? So, yeah, and look, I think you're right. I don't think the track at Gulfstream Park is going to get sovereignty beat. I don't think that's really a thing anymore, to be honest. I think it plays a lot more fairly than it used to. Used to, speed horses won at Gulfstream 24/7, basically. That's not really the case now. I'm not worried about that. But look, it's a horse that's coming off of a long layoff. And it's the same with journalism. He's coming off of a long layoff, and they're having to take on horses, for the most part, that have been running. The majority of them will have races already under their belt. So that's always kind of the big question mark, whether it's journalism, whether it's sovereignty. But again, I think both those horses you're talking about, and both of them we have ranked highly. I do think you're correct in the fact that they don't need to win next Saturday. They just need to run well and get ready for the next one, which will be even bigger. And then the Derby will be the next one.
I love that you said that. Another thing that kind of edged me to journalism, Aaron, is Getaway Car. His last win, journalism, came over Getaway Car. And I get it. Getaway Car is not the Derby winner, but he's consistent. He's a good horse. It's so close here, guys. But the point is yes, these are the top 5. Next week, 3 of them are running. The number 1 spot is up for grabs. You are not going to want to miss it. If you love the Kentucky Derby, you have as good of a chance of seeing a real Kentucky Derby contender running next week as we have seen on this trail. It has everything for you. I am so pumped for next week. And this week isn't even a toss out, but it's just saying, guys, like, we are in the heavyweight matchups coming up, Aaron. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's not get too crazy though. We got 3 more segments about this week, so we don't discount this week.
I've got a lot to say here. I've got a long shot I like for you guys. Come back on the other side. Let's make you some money. Talking Track will be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Track. There's 2 Kentucky Derby preps this weekend. The first one we're going to cover is the Rebel Stakes. Now, Aaron, this is a win in your in prep. There could be multiple horses who make the Kentucky Derby field based on the points they've accrued already and who gets first, second, and third. We have so many questions coming into this race, Aaron. This is a big one. It messed with my head, honestly. It was hard to take a stand here because there were so many different ways you could go. I think we got to dissect this for the people, Aaron. I have some thoughts, a long shot I like. Aaron, why don't we just start with like some horses off the periphery here that both of us kind of talked about before. Coal Battle, he made your list. Did he make your top 4 in the betting?
Yeah, he's going to be in my top 4. I did not put Coal Battle on top. I continue to just kind of think, maybe this is the time he doesn't win, because he's been winning. I say he's been winning lesser races, but he's also beaten some horses that are in this race specifically as well. So I like him. You said it, though. It's a tough field of 14 horses. All of them, majority of them, let's say, they could really be contenders or they could just not be. They're all teetering on the edge at this point. Coal Battle also, even though he's undefeated, this is the toughest race of his career, so it's still another stepping stone for Coal Battle. I've got him to hit the board. I don't have him on top.
Aaron, I love what you just said, though, because here's why you have to tune in and watch this race. It is a great barometer of all of these different regions. This is the best horses at Oaklawn we've seen. All are there. We've got sort of like the horses from Santa Anita that I think are 6 lengths behind the top horses, maybe, or they're a step below, whatever you want to say. So it's like if they can romp and beat this field, wow, what's over at Santa Anita? And then you've got a few horses that have come out of Louisiana. We've seen Innovator run well in his last prep. We've seen Hypnus, who was like better on the undercard. We'll get into all of it, but the point is we're going to learn so much here. And if something jumps up big, it's on the Derby trail as a major contender. So you can't miss it, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And whoever wins, I think at the end of the day, we're going to sit around and go, okay, they either have jumped on the trail or, okay, they were on it and now they've stamped themselves as they're legit, like they can win it. I think that's what this race means to everybody. And like you said, it's such a can't miss race because of the amount of legit prospects that could go one way or another after this race is over.
And so when you talk about one way or another, Sandman, the number 3 horse, he is a big story here, Aaron. Huge time form number last time, 114. He had a 92 buyer. I don't love him at 4-1 though, Aaron. I don't love him at 4-1. Am I crazy to think that? It's just not for me.
No, you're not crazy at all. I think you're right. And look, he's one of these horses that just got a horrific trip last time out. He stumbled out of the gate. He got hit around. He got beat around. He's last. And it's just, he made this great run to get into second. Now, the good news is it shouldn't be as bad of a trip, but the bad news is everybody and their brother saw that last race. And now they're like, oh, we got to bet him because he's going to have such a better trip this time out. And so that's going to get that number to go even down further than 4-1. I think he's going to be like 3-1 or 5-2. And I'm still questionable on him. I know the trip was poor, but if you look at some of his other races, he doesn't get out of the gate very well in hardly any of them. There's one or two where he has, but usually he's off slow. And when you're off slow in a field of 14, you get in trouble. And I'm worried he's going to get in trouble again. And maybe he's just the type that's going to run up and get second or third.
I'm with you, Aaron. And so I tried to beat him. I thought he was the bar I needed to climb. And I actually used the next horse as my win horse here because I think he's an X factor. Hypnus, the number 4. McPeak won the Derby last year. He used Oakland as a route to get that horse to the Derby. I think that's a good sign for this colt. He was so impressive last time out. And I think, I like him at the very least to hit the board, Aaron. So if I'm going to take a swing, I think his price is good enough for me to try to take a swing with him here. What are your thoughts on Hypnus?
Yeah, listen, I don't blame you for taking a swing here. Like you said, one race and it was a win. He ran on Day, which was a stakes race down at Fairgrounds, and they were the exact same distance. His maiden special weight debut and the Lecomte both contested on the same exact distance. Hypnus was much faster from a timing standpoint than the winner of the Lecomte Disco Time. That's a great sign. Hypnus had a very solid time. He got a very solid number. He's on my top 4. I didn't pick him to win, but I do like him quite a bit.
I totally respect you not picking him to win. To me, this is a race. I'm going to try to make some money if I'm doing it because there's so many options. That's where I went with him. Of course, you do love, though, Madaket Road. In this race, I know you love him here. Why don't you talk about him, Aaron? What made you like him so much?
I think the setup's going to be really, really good for him. There's a lot of speed up front, and I think he's going to set 3-4 links off of it. Just kind of be patient, and then go get him at the top of the stretch and be tough to hold off. I thought he ran a sneaky good race last time out. He faced Citizen Bull, our number 1 ranked horse. Now he was third, beaten 6 lengths in that race, so it's not like he was close to winning. But there was no pace on in the race. He's a horse that needs pace up front. He needs those speed horses to get tired and kind of come back to him a little bit. He's going to get that here. Is he good enough? I still think that's questionable, as with any of these horses that we talk about in this race. But I do think he gets the setup. I like Madaket Road to win this race. I don't want to bet him, though, if he gets bet down past that 9-2 morning line. I want him right there. If he's 3-1, he becomes less attractive because it's such a wide open race. But Bob Baffert does not ship horses, just for the hell of it. He ships to win, especially at Oakland. So I think this horse is ready to run a big race.
I love that thinking, Aaron. And I thought he might get bet down, so I stayed kind of away from him. And I had that feeling about Bullard. He's another one that he's curious. I could see him exploding. What were your thoughts on that? And when I say exploding, just like, whoa, what? Shouldn't have left him off my ticket. But I did, guys, because I thought the price was too much for me. What do you think, Aaron?
Same. I don't fully believe in him yet, but I don't fully think he's no good either, right? He's right on that edge. I left him off. I'm going to be kind of upset if he wins because I do think he's a good horse, but you can't play them all. I left Bullard off.
I'm with you. And another horse we have to talk about is Speed King. He won the last prep here. Speed King, for me, Aaron, I think he had it all his own way in that last race and it all collapsed, but he's a genuinely good horse. He's not getting it his own way here. I think they're going to send Innovator. I think Smokin' Wicked. I can't go for him as a win contender.
And boom, that's the problem. That's the problem right there. I can't pick him to win. I do have him in the top 4, but I think the speed is going to be wicked, and I think he's going to have trouble holding on, but he's a nice horse. Keep an eye on him.
Absolutely. Now, a horse I liked, I told you guys I had a long shot here. I don't know, guys, what to do with him fully, but if you're like, I need a long shot on my ticket, I got 3 opinions. Dreamin' in Blue for me, Aaron. Tied for the 4th highest time form number, 111. His top buyer is a 94. That's incredible. As far as what's in this field, I think he's a sneaky hit the board type. Now, I kind of have him as 5th. I don't have him fully there, but I know some of you guys out there are like, I like playing and I like tossing in a long shot. He's where I would go. I can't tell you where to put him. Am I crazy for trying to take a shot with him as a wild long shot, Aaron?
Nope, put on the blinkers last time out and it made a huge difference. He ran a career high race with the blinkers on. The blinkers obviously will be on again. Stretching out to 2 turns, that's a question mark. Haven't really seen it from him yet. So we did see one race at 2 turns. It wasn't that good, but the blinkers weren't on then. So it puts on the blinkers. I think it's going to make a big difference. I don't think you're crazy. I don't have him in my top 4, but I'm not going to be shocked if he runs well.
Here's my top 4 guys, just so you have it. Number 4, Hypnus on top. Number 3, Sandman second. Number 1, Coal Battle third. Number 11, Speed King in fourth. And I had number 7, Dreamin' in Blue, as the long shot I like if you're looking to throw someone in there and get crazy or do something nuts. Aaron, where are you going with in this race really quick? Your top win contender is?
Yeah, I'm going to go Madaket Road to win this one. I think he, with Bob Baffert, bringing him in, I think they mean business. I don't know if he's good enough, but I think he's going to get the setup, and I think he's going to have no excuses. So we'll see if he can get it done.
Never count out Bob Baffert anywhere. Guys, when we come back on the other side, we have another exciting prep you cannot miss. I can't wait to talk about this. Stay tuned for the Battaglia. See you on the other side. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Talkin' Track, and welcome to our coverage of the Battaglia Memorial from Turfway Park, the John Battaglia Memorial from Turfway Park. It's another Kentucky Derby prep. Kind of, Aaron, the last of the 20 pointers for a while. We start getting to the winning your ins after this. You have to take this track seriously because, look, 2 fills, Seize the Gray, Rich Strike, they all came out of this circuit. Aaron, we've got to dive into this one. Here's why you need to watch, though, before we do anything. There's a horse in here. If he just explodes here, he's a serious horse for this trail. After that, it gets a little fuzzy, but if he's beaten, maybe something shocks us. Aaron, I want to get all your thoughts on this. I think First Resort's the horse to beat, but let's hear from you. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think there's 2 horses in here that could be serious. I do want to kind of echo what you said. Let's say 10 years ago, let's just throw out a number. Turfway was kind of this, whatever happens, there happens. We might get a random one every once in a while that comes out of Turfway and does really well, but most of the time we can kind of forget about it. That is just not the case anymore. There are really good horses coming out of this circuit. You touched on the really good ones. There's also a horse last year named Encino that I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, he would have made an impact on the Triple Crown Trail as well. As a matter of fact, he came back and looked great in his first race back. But anyway, this is something to take serious. Now, on the horses, I think there's 2 you need to watch for, and absolutely we'll touch on the first one that you mentioned, the number 9, First Resort. Look, I think he's pretty darn good. Just to go through his 4 races, a nice win on debut on the dirt. They went up to the Saratoga Special in August up at Saratoga. That was a very tough race. He ran into a horse named Showcase, who, if he was not injured, would be a main contender for the Kentucky Derby. He ran second to him. Then he went to the turf. They tried him on the turf at Woodbine. He ran 4th, but only beaten 3.5. That was a pretty good effort for First Resort that day. So he kind of showed he could run on the turf too. He comes right back to the Kentucky Jockey Club, and he dominates that race and beats a horse named Jonathan's Way, who's not a bad horse whatsoever, and Tiztastic, a horse that has been doing pretty well. He hasn't won any of the Kentucky Derby prep races, but he's been hitting the board in them. So he beat a nice field that day. He beat a pretty nice field minus Showcase in his other stakes race on the dirt. Now he's over to the synthetic surface, which it's like, let's keep him on the dirt. But he ran so well on the turf, and the turf usually translates well to the synthetic. So I think he's going to run really well on the surface. And if he does, I think he's really tough to beat because I think he's got a world of talent. The other big thing for me, why I'm confident he's going to run well on the synthetic surface in his first start on it, he's been working out here, and he's been working out tremendously over the track. So I like First Resort quite a bit.
I had the same thing, Aaron. I came in here trying to beat him. I couldn't do it as easily as I wanted to, but I have a few options if you're out there and you guys have the pockets and you're going for it. Aaron, you said there were 2 for you that were possibly, I have 3. Let's hear your 2. Who did you like?
Well, the other one that I think can beat First Resort, I think you got to put on a ticket, is the number 12 Maximum Promise. So this is a horse that ran off of a long layoff last time out in the Lecomte Stakes at Fairgrounds. We mentioned it in the last segment. He was 5th, which is not great, but he was beaten 2.5 lengths, and he was making a big-time run in that race. You could tell this horse needed a start. He didn't break very well. He's a horse that likes to get towards the front. He's last, or not, maybe not last, but close to last. He's towards the back. He just kept running, and I made a note. It's like, okay, he's going to improve off of that race. I didn't know where he would show up next, but I just made a circle and I said, I circled him and I said, he's going to improve off of that race. Now he's in a really good spot. This is a horse that ran on the turf, didn't run all that well, but wasn't horrible. Had the same kind of thing happen on his debut race. He ran on the turf at Ellis Park. He got way behind and he made a big run to get into fifth. He was like 10 lengths behind at one point. He ends up getting beat 4 3/4. So he made up ground. Second race was a dominant, and I mean dominant race over the dirt. So second off the layoff, I think he gets back in good form. I think he breaks well, gets a little bit better positioning, maybe get third, fourth, or fifth up the backside instead of last. I think he's very dangerous.
I'm with you, Aaron. He's an X factor for sure. I seriously considered putting this horse up there, but I had trouble doing it. I think First Resort's the one to do it. He wouldn't shock me at all. Tell me who your second horse to beat this the big monster out there at Turfway would be.
Yeah, I do think the 10 coming in hot makes a lot of sense as well, because he has his resume over the dirt was not great. He raced on it 5 times. He did win once, but it's like, yeah, he's whatever. He's this average horse. He came to Turfway Park. He's run 2 races over the synthetic surface. He won by 5.5 2 races back. He won by 1.5 lengths last time out in the local prep race for this. For whatever reason, this horse loves this track, so I think that makes him dangerous.
I'm with you, Aaron. I like that horse too. I was worried about how far he wants to go, but I don't take anything from the talent. We're going to find out. I'm with you. You got to take him serious if you're trying to beat. I'll tell you a few more that I really liked. Calling Card really was interesting to me, Aaron. He has the same time form as First Resort. 87 buyer speed figure is his top figure. I think First Resort's was an 88. Yes, 88 top figure there. So they're really close. I'm taking him seriously. Thoughts on this horse for a second?
You know, he ran really well. This is a New York bred horse, and he ran really well in New York bred races, and he earned that time form figure that you talked about in a New York maiden special weight. That wasn't that tough of a field. He got out ahead, and he just ran away from them. His 2 races after that big win have not been all that great. He got beat 7 lengths to Sandman at Oaklawn, and then he got beat 5 lengths in Lecomte, finished 8th. That was my problem. I have not liked him in open company.
I'm with you on that too. I'll tell you guys 2 more very quickly that'll shock you probably, Aaron. One is Studley Do Right, and I'll tell you why. If he takes a step forward or shows up with his best, he could belong here. And that's scary to me to think, because I don't think he can do it, but he's an X factor to me. Nyquist is a 17% synthetic track route sire. His dam was best on turf. They've obviously believed in this horse, or they have no conscience, because they keep throwing him in every prep. So it's like, this is to me the do or die moment. I'm going to pass on him, but he has numbers that are surprisingly fit here if he takes a step forward. The other horse for me, Aaron, that's interesting is Baby Max. He beat Chunk of Gold, who was second in the Risen Star last week. If he improves, he could be a factor. I like him to hit the board. I don't have the guts to put either of those ones on top, but I just want to throw them out there, guys, in case you're considering it. That was my thoughts.
Baby Max, I'm with you. Studley Do Right, I would not touch in this race, but I'm telling you that Baby Max, he beat Chunk of Gold. That horse came back to run well.
Absolutely. So there you have it, guys. Those are your other options. But for me, end of the day, First Resort for you, Aaron?
Yep, First Resort for me.
All right, guys. See you on the other side. We're going to talk Kentucky Oaks, and we've got a big one. See you when we get back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Talkin' Track. We're going to talk Kentucky Oaks. We have another major prep this weekend, the Honeybee Stakes over at Oaklawn Park. 50 points up for grabs, a win and you're in. This race has a good history in recent years of predicting the Oaks winners or favorites or horses that get there. Aaron, it looks like to me there's a few storylines here. Honestly, what was crazy was the bigger names to me. I was questionable on them when I started looking at the numbers. Do you smell an upset brewing? Where are you going with the Honeybee?
I don't see an upset in this one at all. I think the number 1 Muhima is way the horse to beat in this spot. This is a filly for Brad Cox, who's 3 for 3 coming into this race. And she just has been pretty brilliant in all 3 of her races. A nice maiden special weight debut at Churchill Downs, went to Allowance Company and ran away from him again. Last time out, they tried the Demoiselle, a grade 2 event up at Aqueduct. And once again, she just ran away from them to win by a length. That was her first race going longer. She went 1 mile and an 1/8 there. She'll cut back to 1 mile and a 16th for this one. I think that'll be totally fine for her. She's going to be tough. I really believe she's one of those horses. If she gets out of the gate, well, she could go gate to wire and just lead the whole time. She's also shown she can sit off the pace a little bit as well if needed. So I think that the key to the race will be the break. She does draw the inside. She needs to break well. She needs to get into position. And if she does that, I just think she's classier than the rest of this bunch.
That seems fair to me. But if she is going to be beaten, there's a few names I want to throw at you. Take charge, Milady. Talk to me about your thoughts on her.
Yeah, this horse was super good last time out right here at Oakland Park. It was a 5 3/4 length victory in the local prep race for this one. And look, she just seems to be getting better and better in the spot, or as she races, I should say. Her first 2 races, I was not very impressed, and then after that, she broke her maiden at Oakland in her 3rd start, and then, like I said, the Martha Washington, the local prep from this, just 2 very easy victories. So I have nothing against her. I don't think she's as good as Muhima from a talent standpoint, but I do think she's a very nice horse. Would not be shocked if she wins.
Interesting comments there, and because another horse that I'm really got to get your take on is 5G, who won her last start by 9 lengths. That was really impressive. What do you do with her?
Yeah, another New York bred horse that sometimes these New York breds can just run out of their skin and be much better than maybe what they were bred to do. First 2 races were in New York. They were fine. Win against Open Company up at Aqueduct in the 3rd start in a turf race, got beat, but only got beat a half length. And then, went to Gulfstream Park, obviously Open Company there, to run in the Cash Run Stakes on January 1st. Just a dominant effort. And I mean, an impressive effort for 5G. So, look, I like this horse quite a bit. Irad Ortiz Jr. gets a board. I think that's very good for her as well. The one bad thing is she's drawn all the way to the outside, the 13 post. I think that's going to be tough to overcome. And that's why I don't like her a bit more in this spot. I think that 13 hole is going to be tough. She's not a horse that she has early speed, but I don't think she's going to be in like the top flight. She might get hung a little bit wide in this race.
Very interesting. Now, there's some horses who have huge time forms compared to them, actually, and I want to talk to them really. Just get your thoughts on it. Quick Kick had a 110 time form. She's at 12-1 odds here. That number beats the other horses in the field. What do you think of her?
Yeah, it is interesting that she has that number of 110. She only did it once, though. Her other 3 efforts have not been. They've been fairly close to that, but they haven't really been there. Sometimes what happens, I feel like, is a horse that wins a race will just run a great race and get a big number. And then it's just like, we've got to give the second place horse a big number because they were kind of within the realm of them. But you go back and watch that race. A Quick Kick was never beating Immersive that day when she earned that 110 in the Darley Alcibiades at Keeneland. It was never going to happen. And that's kind of her story. When she faces good horses, she's around them. She's got a chance, but she ends up being well beaten. So I like her to hit the board again. I don't like her to win.
That might be the same for Quietude then. 113 time form, odds of 8-1 pass for you.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Look, ran a 113. Look who won the race. Immersive, a horse that would be the favorite at the Kentucky Oaks if she hadn't got injured. She faced Immersive again, and she couldn't beat her. She faced a horse named Good Cheer, who is the favorite for the Oaks right now. Couldn't get there. Last time out, Quiet Side was 2-5 to win the Martha Washington, and she was beaten 5 3/4, but she finished second. Quick Kick, Quiet Side, they're the same type of horse. They can get up there and maybe hit the board, but they have a lot of trouble winning.
Who's the horse for you in this race, Aaron? Final thoughts?
Yeah, it's Muhima for me. I love Muhima. I think she's going to be awfully tough to beat in this one, and I think Brad Cox will have the top 2 choices for the Oaks, Muhima and then Good Cheer, who won last weekend.
Well, you guys heard it here. Next week is a week for the ages as far as things are going. We're going to come back, dissect what we see. As you guys can see, we're pumped here. That's our show for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck to everyone betting. I'm Ryan Stillman for Big Play. That's Aaron Halterman for RacingDudes.com. Thanks for talking track to us, and good luck this weekend at the races.